Hello, I'm Dr. Michelle Burden, along with Dr. Lisa Burkhardt Worley and Renee Rollins, and welcome to Pop Talk, the program where you never know what topics might pop up. Are you a woman who would like to be a better leader? Do you desire to be more of an influencer? Then today's guest will help you. Lisa has the introduction.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Have you ever met someone who has the it factor? That's how I felt about our guest, Misty Phillip, when I first met her at a Christian Women in Media conference. I was right. Since then, she, her husband Peter, and God have built an empire. Misty is a visionary leader, an entrepreneur, and an award-winning author. She serves as Chief Operating Officer of Trilogy Works. It's a boutique technology firm specializing in cybersecurity and AI-driven solutions. Well, we need to know about that today. She's also the founder of Spark Media and has pioneered platforms that amplified faith-based voices worldwide. She's a top-ranked podcast host herself. Her shows include It Is Time to Stand Up, Spark Influence, By His Grace, and Spark Media Conversations. We wonder how she had time to be here with all this. Through these platforms, she shares powerful insights on leadership, creativity, and the intersection of faith and business. Misty is the author of the book, The Struggle is Real, but So is God. That's a #1 Amazon new release. And she's also written a book called Spark Your Influence, inspiring women to lead with boldness, purpose, and passion. And that is our topic for today. So welcome, Misty, and congratulations on everything that you're doing. And I just love to be around women leaders. Some people would be jealous, but I thrive around women leaders. A friend of mine says, you need to hang out with thoroughbreds. And pardon that, but you're a thoroughbred in my eyes. And so you say it just takes a spark, right, to be a leader. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so in each of us, God has created, there's a spark within us because He has specific purposes and plans and assignments for our life that only we can do. And when we embrace that spark and we follow the Lord, then we light the world up and we light others up when we're doing the thing He called us to do. So.
Love that. It only takes a spark to get a fire going.
Get a fire going, y'all. Come on. Well, I'm a worship leader and a songwriter, and I consider myself to be a creative person. Why do you think in leadership it's so important, for us to embrace that, and how does God work through that in that creativity?
Yeah, so we are made in the image of God. And God is the creator of the universe. He created everything. He is the most creative being ever. And because we are made in His likeness, we are all creative too. Whether we think we are or not, if you just look at how uniquely He made each one of us, and with everything that He's put in us, even our life experiences, the things that we go through, our gifts, our talents, our calling, all of it, and creativity is at the heart of all of that, and how He fashioned us and created us to do great works in this earth, not because we work for our faith, but we work from our faith.
So there's no truth to people say, I'm not good at anything, and I don't know, I can't be a success because I don't know about most things. There's no truth to that, right?
That's right. We're all unique. I may not be good at the same things that you're good at, but I may have some similarities. But God has uniquely made me for the things that He has me to do. And if we can embrace that idea, then we can do far more abundantly than all that we can ask or think, because it's not our plan, it's His plan. And He's the one who created us for those works.
I love that. I don't consider myself really good at worship leading or singing by any means. So I don't.
But one day we're going to go to Renee's church where she's a worship leader, and we're all going to stand up and we're going to stand with her and we're going to pretend we're leading worship.
Exactly. We're going to lip sync.
Bring it,
that
girls.
way, then it'll sound great.
Bring it.
I just finished a doctoral program. It felt like a long time, 7 years, with went from master's directly into doctoral program, and I felt like I had so many things to do and so much on my plate. How can we as leaders, be good stewards of our time?
Yeah. So the couple of verses in the Bible come to mind. So we are to be wise. We are to redeem the time. We are to count the days. So all of those things to me tell me we need to be intentional in the way that we live. And so for me, what that looks like is I try to really think through and pray through, like, first of all, Lord, what do you want me to do? And then create my life in a way that I'm not too overstretched. I try to keep some borders and some margin in my life so that if God says, go here, I make the plan, but he's the one who leads. And so I'm a planner and like very intentional and I time block and, all those things as type A people do. Yeah. But then God sometimes comes along and just says, that's your plan, it's not my plan. And so I want to listen to him and his plan. And so I think all of that goes into being just intentional and being wise and finding out what is my assignment in this season. So that's one of the things I talk about in the book is seasons, because I had a season where I was in corporate. I worked at Enron and God called me to come home to homeschool my kids. So I went from climbing the corporate ladder to surrendering it all to homeschooling. And then I thought I was going to be home and have grandbabies, but my kids didn't cooperate with me. And so I started praying, asking God, what is it that you want me to do? And I had no idea that I would write books, that I would speak, that I would podcast, that I would start a media company, all of those things, to then walk away from all of that to work with my husband. So I think we just have different assignments in different seasons. And if we can embrace that, we can be intentional in that season.
That is so
I
true.
agree with that so much. I am a pastor now. We just started a church with another pastor who's the lead pastor, of course. But I never thought I'd be inside the church as a pastor. This was not my idea. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And I had a 20-year secular television career, and I said when I ended that, I thought, that's good. I've really enjoyed that for 20 years. I'm never going back. But I've learned with God to never say never. Never say never. Because he's up there, he's laughing at me. He's like, just wait. I'm going to call you back to this. Because he doesn't waste our gifts and our talents, right, Misty?
Yeah, that's right.
He doesn't. He uses how we've been trained. He's probably used your corporate experience to create this other empire that you guys are creating and have created, don't you think?
Absolutely. Everything. He doesn't waste anything, whether it's our work that we do or even our pain. He uses it all for his glory.
Yes. Amen. Well, I'm considered, I guess, a leader, I guess.
Yes.
And sometimes people call me strong. I don't know why. I don't get that at all, but no, because I feel like I'm a broken woman, but my strength, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. My strength comes from the Lord. And so I just move in his strength, not my own strength. They don't see me sometimes in the morning weeping, and trying to just ask God for the strength. Or at the end of the day, it's like, you have to help me with this, Lord. I can't do this on my own. Right. And so I think we all have to rely on God. But can you think women are designed by God to be leaders? And can you explain that concept?
Yeah, I think we're all leaders, right? Whether we're leading ourselves, maybe we're single and we're just leading ourselves, but that doesn't happen by accident, right? If you are a mother, you're leading your children, your family. Yes. If God has you in the workplace, you're constantly influencing others. And I wanted to take this concept in, our world. We have influencers, but really we all have influence that we steward. And as a part of that, we lead, whether we think we do or not. People are always watching, especially in the day that we live in with social media. Everybody is always watching. And so even the things that you put out online, are they uplifting people? So we have an opportunity to show up well in the world, and when we do that, then we influence others.
And that brings up a question. We shouldn't look at social media and compare ourselves to other women on social, because people are going to put their best foot forward. You're not going to know all the really behind the scenes stuff. Don't compare yourself to what's on the outside there.
That's right.
Isn't that important?
It is, and God's pie is big enough for everyone. And so we don't have to fuss or fight and like strive and try to hold on to things, because the more open-handed we are, actually, I feel like the more the opportunity that gives for the Lord to bless us.
That's so good. Yes. Maybe that's the reason I'm taking 27 pictures for one post on Instagram. Like, is that it? Oh, this one, that one. Well, I know one thing. We all believe Jesus is coming back, don't we? We know that he is. Praise the Lord. He's coming back soon.
Yes.
So how is it that God is using, how do you think God is using women in the end times right now?
Yeah. So I share a story in the book that my friend, some of you may know, Amber Buto, does a lot of work in Africa. And there's a woman in Africa, and I share that story. And she told Amber one day, she said, it was a woman who brought Jesus into the world, and it will be women who usher him back. And I have just seen in the last couple of years the way God is rising women within the church, outside the walls of the church, but to proclaim Jesus in ways that I think women have not always had those opportunities.
Right.
Because now anybody with a cell phone can get online and have an audience. So we're living in very different days, and so I just see how he is empowering his women to be bold and to do the thing that he has called them to do.
Okay, I just want to admit that bothered me at first, that everyone could be a television personality. It bothered me because I trained for it, but now I see how God's using it. He's using many people to reach the world in this way.
Yeah. Yep. And we look at the Bible too. I mean, the Bible does actually talk about the importance of women when you really study the women. I mean, you look at Deborah, you look at Abigail, all the different powerful women that have really made a difference. But using, can you give us a biblical example or two of how women lead with wisdom and courage?
Yeah, so I think about Deborah. She was a judge and a mother, and they wouldn't go without her, right? Like they wouldn't go into battle without her. She was wise. She sat under the tree. So she was a woman of many talents. And I think even the Proverbs 31 woman, sometimes she gets a bad rap. But if you really look at the things that she did, she was intentional with her time. She was a good steward of her resources. And so I don't think we necessarily have to do all the things that she did, but I think it's an example of how we live our lives. And then finally, the one who's recently the woman of the Bible that's been speaking to me is Lydia, because she's in the marketplace. And I never thought after leaving corporate that God would then take me back out into, to leave my safe little ministry world of podcasting,
Doing your podcast.
Yeah, I can be in my home, in the comfort of my home, and have a microphone and reach people all over the world. And I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. But then to now be in the marketplace, it's totally different. So Lydia's example has really been speaking to me in the way that she was wise. And
Very cool.
It's so important to stay centered in the Word, centered in prayer, to hear, because God may tell you to do something different. We do a conference every year, and it's usually in Dallas, and I thought, I think I'm done with that. We had done 18 different events, and so I was praying about it, and I was really listening, and the Lord spoke Austin into my spirit. And I said, Austin, you're telling me to go to Austin? And so we're working on that. We're trying to get that off the ground, because God told me, you're not done with the conference. I'm just changing your place for this year. And so that was pretty powerful. If you listen, you never know, what he's going to do.
That's right.
So I was just talking about this with a friend the other day, and women executives still have some trouble getting respect from the male executives. I've seen the glass ceiling time and time again. I was a female sportscaster. It was tough. You could only go so far with that. And I believe there's still a good old boys club, if you want to call it that. How can women leaders gain respect?
Yeah, I think this is a really important question. Someone asked me why I wrote the book to women and why I didn't just write it to everyone, because a lot of the principles apply. And I said, because of this one specific chapter that I need to put in the book, which is women, because being in the podcast industry, being a leader, starting my own podcast conference and magazine and network and all of these things that I was doing, I was a leader. But when as a woman in a very male-dominated space, when I went there, and then I was a believer, they were like, "Aren't you sweet?" And like,
I hate that.
And then on the kind of the opposite side of that, in the church, I felt like within the denomination that I was in, I really didn't get support from my church either. And it was a very like, you can't speak the word or to preach the word. And I'm like, I think God's called us all to share the gospel.
Amen.
It's the Great Commission. And so I think the way that we handle that is through humility and respect. So Jesus washed feet, but he also turned over tables. So we have to know when it's time to speak up, when it's time to use our voice and to be bold, but to do it in love and kindness, right? And then also to know when it's time for us to take a back seat and respect the men that we're working in, and it's a balance,
Yeah.
Well, we're always leading, like you were saying, and I think what really becomes important for any woman of God is to know that God is at the center. And I just want you to talk about that, Misty, because I know God has an anointing on your life. We've seen how God is using you. And I just think a lot of times that we as women are like, I can do it, I'm gonna get it done, I will do it. And the Lord gets a little sidelined. So talk about keeping God centered.
Well, that starts in his word. Like, we have to be in his word.
That's so true.
Especially the crazy days that we are living in, and the time that he has called us to live. There's deception that's coming on the face of the earth. And if we don't know the word of God, we can be deceived. And so I think it starts there. It starts in our prayer life. It starts with being still and quiet to hear his voice so that we can obey him. Because there are so many voices in the world that are telling us all these different things. And so we've got to be still. We've got to be quiet. And you're going to know this one. You've got to worship, because we're created to worship. That's why he made us, is to worship him. And so we can make a joyful noise even if it's not our gifting and talent.
Right.
But when all of that comes together, it's important to be in the body of Christ, because we lift one another up. You can't have, you need the toes and you need the fingers and you need the head.
Right.
And
Yes,
you
you
need
do.
the whole body, because that's how we work together. And so I think all of that is part of our walk with the Lord. But if I were to tell somebody one thing, get in your word, no matter how you get in there. One of the things that I do is I listen to Max McLean read the Bible to me at night when I go to bed. It really settles me. And then I have these long, quiet times with the Lord as well. And I can tell when I'm getting too busy and I don't have that time, that I really need it. And so...
Yeah, I was going to bring that point up. The enemy of our souls will get us so busy that we feel we don't have time to do an adequate quiet time. That's been happening to me lately. And I'm letting like text messages interfere with my quiet time. And I just said, stop, I've got to carve that time out, put it aside, turn my phone over, not answer text messages. We've got, the most important thing we can do is to be with the Lord. So that he can give us what we need for that day, and and give us our marching orders.
Yeah, our daily bread.
Our daily bread.
I think it's important in the morning, first thing, because I know a lot of people they talked about, I think I heard somebody once say something about when you have your coffee, you should still be dressed to impress, not be in your pajamas. I always remember.
Oh gosh, I'm going to have to get convicted about that. I'm in my jammies and my robe when I do my quiet time. I'm sorry, Lord, but I figure you know what I look like. Even without the jammies.
But it is definitely very important. I find that my day is very different when I'm in the Word in the mornings and when I'm not. And so just one last question, Misty, about your new venture with your husband, Trilogy Works. Why did you decide to shift gears and work in the AI world?
Yeah, well, this was not my choice. So about a year and a half before I exited Spark, my husband said, we were on a plane to go into California, and I was just like, if you could have things, if you could create your perfect world, like what would that be? And he said, I would ask you to quit your company and come work with me. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that one. And so we just tucked that one away, and we continued. I wrestled with this idea, and I really went to the Lord and said, is this assignment over? Has the favor lifted on this? And I didn't want to quit too soon, but I wanted to honor the Lord and honor my husband. And I don't know anything about technology, so I was like, really, God, you want me to do what? I could barely turn my computer on. But I live in a house full of tech guys. So there's that. And finally, after cutting a lot of things out of my schedule and getting really, really still and really quiet, I kind of started quiet quitting, and I just kind of stopped doing all of the things that I was doing for all the people, because I had built this big thing, and I'm like, how do you unwind yourself from that and still serve people? And God was so gracious, and people started to leave, and it was just I finally surrendered. It was a moment of surrender, and then I started working with him, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't know anything about this. And so I was like, please let me write. I'd been working on Spark Your Influence book that we've been talking about today for 5 years. I said, I've got to get this book out. I was too busy because I would start and I would stop and I'd start. And I was like, let me get that out. And then I started taking client visits and doing, I always travel with him to our clients and all of that. And then finally, I was like, I think we need to write a book. And I felt very comfortable in AI because, that sounds weird, I felt comfortable because it's a level playing field.
Right.
I don't have to know all the tech terms and all the things that these people have spent years and years and years learning. So it put me on more of an even playing field. My husband had always wanted to write a book, and I was like, I can do this with him. And so I would write, and I would take it to him, and we would talk about it. Then I would write some more. And so that's kind of how all of that happened. And we wrote the book Upskill or Die: Thriving in the AI Revolution, because we see how AI is going to disrupt the world, and we knew we needed to get that book out very fast so that we could begin helping people.
We have a little bit of time. Can you tell us how it's disrupting the world? Kind of inform us. I know we were talking about it a minute ago.
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. And first, like white collar jobs, even creative jobs. So we were talking about media. There's a lot of programs like VO3 and I don't even know all the names of all these things, but what used to take people millions of dollars, lots of time, talent, you can put a prompt in and make a movie. I mean, that's crazy.
Yes.
Right? So there's been a lot of layoffs lately from all these tech companies. So coders, there's something called Claude Code, where people were telling their kids, go to school for coding. Well, now you can basically vibe code, and it can code for you. You don't even have to know how to code. So another example, IBM just created AI agent. So agentic AI is where you basically set up something to do tasks for you, and it runs autonomously. And they set that up and let go 8,000 IBM employees.
8,000.
That's so much.
And then they're going to sell that to other companies, so other companies will be able to do that. So we're going to see huge disruptions in tech, in media, in law, in medicine. And what I'm hoping is some of them will be for good, right? That an AI can diagnose where a doctor might miss something. But we also need to have guide rails in place. We have to develop AI ethically. There's also some big challenges with it. It consumes a lot of water. It consumes a lot of power. And we all need water for life.
Right.
And so as these big data centers are being created, it's going to cause some unintended consequences, is what I like to to call them. I think the effects on children, there are whole schools. There's a school in Austin that is starting the kids out all AI. Even in public school, the teachers are being told to use 80% of their time should be used on AI.
Wow.
Right? And I just don't know, MIT has done some studies on the effects of children's brains. Like, we already don't remember our phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
We all knew
Or
phone
math,
numbers when we were
simple math.
growing up, right? But now they're in our phone and we don't know them, or we don't know directions somewhere because
Right.
it's in our
That's
phone.
true. I mean,
And so if these kids are relying on the source of information of AI, and then who's to know if it's actually true or not?
That's the point. Yeah, what's real, what's not. I look at YouTube and I go, that's not real. Somebody has just fabricated that, whether it's a president or somebody else that's on there. I mean, that's what I worry about. And actually, actors and actresses are worried because you can create a scene with an actor, or you can do the prompts, and they look like a real person now. I mean, it's just
Well, and the deep fakes are actually, they're using those to swindle people out of money and and all of that as well.
So we just have to be, it can be good, but we have to be on guard and really just take it with a grain of salt and just be careful. I mean, we can use it for good. I've used
That's right.
I've used it.
No, I agree. I think it is a tool, just like any other tool. And in the hands of a good person, you can do good things with it.
Well, thank you, Misty. I know people are going to want to get that book. That book's called Upskill or Die, Thriving in the AI Revolution. And just thanks for helping us to be better leaders. She's got a couple of books, as we said. One of those is the Amazon #1 new release. It's called Spark Your Influence, Inspiring Women to Lead with Boldness, Purpose, and Passion. And if you want to reach out to Misty Phillip, you can find her at either of her websites, or a couple, trilogyworks.com or mistyphillip.com. And she has that new book out, so you definitely want to get that. I think I've got to get that book because it's going to help me
too.
with AI.
Yeah.
So Misty and her husband are doing great work, and they're helping all of us who really need to learn more about artificial intelligence.
And we are so glad. We hope that you're going to come back and reach out to us here at Pearls of Promise Ministries. You can email us at info@pearlsofpromiseministries.com. Please like us on Facebook at Pearls of Promise Ministries. Follow us on X at Pop Talk Media or at Pearls of Promise, or find us on Instagram at Pop_Ministries. And all of our past Pop Talk television shows and our award-winning documentaries are on our YouTube channel at Pearls of Promise Ministries.
And thanks to our 26 television and radio platforms and a great production team from Grace Point Media. For all of your needs, go to gracepoint.media.
So that is our program for today. Thanks for watching. We're just ordinary girls
Who God turned into pearls. Have a wonderful week.